there, bookworms. Welcome to Pouring Over Books, a podcast where we dive into the books we love and maybe a few we didn't. I'm your host, LaShawn, and every week I'll be deep diving into what I'm reading, recommendations, and talking about all the things that we love about books. So grab your favorite coffee or tea, find a cozy spot, and let's get ready to pour over some great books together. Hey friends, welcome back to the Pouring Over Book podcast. I am LaShawn, your host, and again, welcome back. How was everyone's Valentine's Day? Mine was great. Hubby and I went to dinner and we were back home by 8 p.m., just how I like it. Even my son had a Valentine's Day this year, and teenage love is special, and that's all I'm going to say about that. Anyway, the most exciting thing other than Valentine's Day this week is that I secured my Cowboy Carter tickets, and now I'm on the hunt for comfortable cowboy boots for my concert outfit. I've decided to go with a theme, so send me your suggestions. I need them. I've never owned a pair of cowboy boots, and I don't even know where to start. Anyway, since it is still February, and it's the Tuesday after Valentine's Day, and it is still Black History Month, all month long, 28 days, I thought it was the perfect time to share a few of my favorite Black love stories. I know I read a lot of romance, and it may seem like I don't read a lot of romances by Black authors, but that isn't true. And going forward, I'm going to be sharing more and more of the Black romances that I read when I read them, the good, the bad, and the ugly. That goes for books by Black authors, I think, in general, because even though mostly I read just for a good story, I recognize that I have this platform and that I want to share more diverse choices with everyone, because sometimes you can't read what you don't know about. So it is my job to inform you so that you can find good books by more diverse authors, specifically Black authors too. So anyway, this week, I'm going to go ahead and share a few of my favorite Black love stories that I have read and that I love. I've read all of these books. I just want to make sure everyone knows that. And so if I recommend them, that means I enjoy them. Okay? So let's get started. The first book that I want to talk about is A Duke by Default by Alyssa Cole. This book is the second in her Reluctant Royal series, and I'm sharing this one because it is my favorite in the series. New York socialite and hot mess Portia Hobbs is tired of disappointing her family and friends, and most importantly, herself. An apprenticeship with a struggling sword maker in Scotland is her chance to use her expertise and discover what she's capable of. Turns out she excels in aggravating her silver fox boss when she is not having inappropriate fantasies about his Scottish burr. Tavish tries to rebuff his apprentice and his attraction to her, but when Portia accidentally discovers that he's the secret son of a duke, rough around the edges Tav becomes her newest makeover project, and of course, romance ensues. Now, I love this one. If you are into the royals trope, the American and royalty trope, or just want a good romance, A Duke by Default by Alyssa Cole is your book. The entire series is royal adjacent or about a royal or a relationship with a royal. I love also that, of course, there is an American in it, and then they go to another country. That's my thing. I just love these books. Alyssa Cole is one of my favorite romance authors, and I like to recommend her and this series, and specifically this book, if you are looking to get into something light, easy, and fun. Okay? The second book that I want to recommend is You Made a Fool Out of Death with Your Beauty by Akaweki Zell. No, I butchered that, and I'm so sorry. This book right here, how do I even start? This is a contemporary romance that follows Faye, a young Nigerian artist who is trying to rebuild her life after losing her husband in a tragic accident. 5 years later, she's back in the dating scene, and she finds herself in a whirlwind romance that takes her to a luxurious island estate. However, things get complicated when she develops an undeniable connection with somebody completely off limit, her boyfriend's father. Listen, When I tell you this is messy boots, that messy boots doesn't even begin to describe this book. It is so messy. The love triangle, the romance with it is messy, just how I like it. I mean, but it is so, so good because it has layers. And I appreciate the messiness that goes with the layers that makes you think. It was just so good. There's queer representation there from both characters, and which I'll let the story, you need to read it to find out how that fits in, but it is excellent. It is so excellent. And I like to recommend this mess to everyone. All right. The next book that I want to talk about is The Art of the Scandal by Regina Black. On the night, let me tell you, I'm just going to read my review at the time when I read it. On the night of Matt's 40th birthday, Rachel Abbott receives a sexy, explicit text from her husband that she quickly realizes was meant for another woman. Divorce is inevitable, but Rachel is determined not to leave her 13-year marriage empty-handed. Basically, she was like, I'm leaving here with something. So she strikes a deal with him. She gets $1 million in their lavish house if she remains his trophy wife until after the election. But then Rachel meets Nathan Vasquez. Listen, from the very first line of this book, I was hooked. I could not put this book down. I actually had to force myself to slow down and savor this book. It was well written, it was fast paced, it was humorous, it was sexy, it was real all at once. This is one of the most well rounded books that I read in a long time, and it's done so well that I had forgotten what that was like. It was satisfying right until the end. Just read this book. You see, I highly, highly recommend it. All right. So our next book, oops. So our next book that I want to recommend is The Perfect Find by Tia Williams. This is actually the book that introduced me to Tia Williams and made me understand that she can do no wrong. The Perfect Find, we have our main character, Jenna Jones, a 40-year-old former fashion editor who is trying to rebuild her career after a very public breakup with her longtime boyfriend and after a long period of struggling professionally. So to prove she still has what it takes, she takes a job in digital media company run by a former rival. Things get complicated real quick when she finds herself drawn to Eric Combs, a talented and much younger videographer who also happens to be her boss's son. Yes, this is two messy books in a row, but roll with me here. Roll with me. Now, I did not watch the Netflix version of this book, frankly, because I didn't want to be disappointed. I have my own pictures in my head of what these characters sound like, look like, and do. I did not want it tainted by the movie version. I no. But this book again is a favorite of mine, and now that I'm thinking about it, it's time for a reread. And I just realized I don't own a physical copy, and I must rectify that immediately. But it is available on Kindle Unlimited right now if you subscribe. Our next book is Take a Hint, Dani Brown by Talia Hibbert. This is a rom-com, and it is the second book in Talia Hibbert's series about the Brown sisters. I'm always giving you all the second book. This is interesting. This story follows Dani Brown, a career-focused PhD student who has no interest in relationships, just a good casual blame. Isn't that how it always starts? Anyway, enter Zafir Ansari. When a fire drill at their university leads to her being dramatically rescued by Zafir, like it's real dramatic, a former rugby player and turned security guard. Their moment goes viral, and the internet dubbed them the perfect couple. Sav convinces her to use their fake relationship for good for his charity, and Dani decides to go along. But of course, their fake dirting turns into something real, and Dani must confront her fears about commitment while Sav has to see if he can hope in his heart again after heartbreak. This was so good. Great banter, great spice, because, I mean, come on now. Talia Hibbert, she does a great job with that. I love that it takes place in England. The whole series does actually, or it's not an American book. And I get to imagine all of those lovely, lovely accents as I read. I just love that. The next book on my list to share with you today is The Wedding Date by Jasmine Guillory. Now, of course, I could not write this list without including a Jasmine Guillory book. The Wedding Date was actually her first novel and one of my faves. The story follows Alexa Monroe, a smart and ambitious chief of staff to the mayor of Berkeley, who unexpectedly meets Drew Nichols, a charming pediatric surgeon, when they get stuck in an elevator together. Drew's in a bind. He needs a last-minute date to his ex's wedding, and Alexa impulsively agrees to be his fake girlfriend for the weekend. Their chemistry is undeniable, and what starts off as a one-time arrangement quickly turns into a long-distance romance filled with weekend getaways, delicious food, and undeniable passion. Yes, yes, yes. Good spice, y'all, good spice. But as their feelings grow, so do their doubts, especially with their busy careers and personal insecurities in the mix. I love a fake dating trope. It is one of my faves, so this book was a delight for me. In fact, I'm adding it again, like the last book, to my reread list right now. The next book that I want to talk about is Long Shot by Kennedy Ryan. I know we always talk about the Skyland series, i.e. Before I Let Go, and This Could Be Us when it comes to Kennedy Ryan, but I read Long Shot on Kindle Unlimited. It's still available there at the time of this recording, by the way. And that is how I got introduced to her. The story follows Iris Dupree, a smart, ambitious woman who dreams of work in the sports industry. On the night before the NBA draft, she meets August West and they share an undeniable connection. However, keep them apart, and she ends up in a relationship with another man who turns out to be abusive and controlling. Trapped in a nightmare behind closed doors, Iris fights to protect herself and her daughter while maintaining the perfect life. Meanwhile, August never stops thinking of her. When their paths cross again, Iris must find the strength to break free from her abuser and reclaim her life. Oh my God, this was so good. It's heartbreaking. It's emotional. Again, it's just so good. And it's my favorite type of romance where there is a good story that happens to be a romance. But just as a last note, there are content warnings for this book, on-page content warnings that include domestic abuse, rape, and sexual violence. Just a warning. But it is an excellent book. The last book that I want to share with you today is Disappearing Acts by Terry McMillan. Yes, this is a classic. This is a classic. The novel follows Zora Banks, a talented, ambitious school teacher and aspiring singer, and Franklin Swift, a hardworking but troubled construction worker who dreams of owning his own business. Their attraction is undeniable, but their relationship is tested by financial struggles, emotional baggage, and differing expectations. Sounds like a lot of real relationships here. As they navigate love, ambition, and the challenges of commitment, they must decide whether their love is strong enough to overcome their individual shortcomings. This is a classic, and I wanted to include at least one good classic romance. I haven't read this book since I was in my 20s, so 20 years ago, I think. And I'm curious if my view of it will change now that I'm in my 40s, because thinking about it now, baby, there ain't no way. But again, this is a classic written in a time, I think, where societal norms and expectations were different. And you do have to keep that in mind when you are reading books written in these and early years. But again, I think this is a classic, and if you love Black romance, it should be added to your list just for general principle. Okay. All right. That is all the books that I want to share with you today. Let's get into what I'm currently reading. I'm currently reading The Ashes and the Star-Crossed King by Carissa Broadbent. It's the second in the Crown of Naxia series. It's a duology. I finally finished the first book after 2 years. Don't judge me, but I like the first book in this duology. I got to practically the last 4 chapters and did not want to go on because I was like, I can't see how this ends well. And I was enjoying it so much. I put it off and I put it off and I put it off and I put it off. But I finally got over my own self and finished it. Yeah, it ended just as badly as I thought. But this second book is like the redemption, and I am still curious of how it's going to end. I know there's going to be an HEA, happily ever after, because it is a romantasy and that is what happens. But I'm really curious how it's going to get there. I am about 50% through now, finally. And so I think I can see it going well now. I can see it, the tide has turned. But and it's only a duology and it's finished. There are technically other books in the series, but each duology is about a different couple. We have already been introduced to one half of the new couple here in this book. I don't know if we're going to see the other half yet, but it's going to be a good continuation. So I'm enjoying it. It's hard to find good romantic books these days because sometimes they all seem the same. But what I love about this one is that it's different. And I mean, who doesn't love a good vampire and half vampire and war and, backstabbing and they fall in love anyway, even though they really shouldn't? Who doesn't love that type of book? Anyway, so after I finish this one, probably today or tomorrow, I'm going to dive back into Desert Emperor by Dani for because it's part of my traveling book club that I am in and must finish it soon so that I can mail it out to the next person. I'll talk more about traveling book club on another time. But it's you remember the story of the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants where they pass the jeans along. This one you pass books along and everyone reads the books and then they take notes in their book and you pass it along to the next person and the next person reads it and takes notes and reads the book. And then by the time you get it back, you have this book full of notes and thoughts from everyone who's read it. I think it's brilliant. I love the idea. I cannot wait to do it. I am also currently looking forward to a half marathon that I signed up for. That is in October. Yes, I know I said I would never going to run a marathon again, and this is not that. This is a half marathon, so only 13.2 miles instead of 26.2. There's a difference, friend. There's a difference. And plus, this half marathon is at the happiest place on earth during my favorite Disney weekend, the Disney Wine and Dine Festival. I cannot wait to go run, then wine and dine. I am running with my friend Carly, of course, my running partner who has surpassed me in running ideas, but here we are. So that is what I am looking forward to. That also means that I have to start training again. And because of my bad knees, I always start training early. So I have to frankly, get back into running as of now. Currently, and that is it. I think that's all that I have for you today. Please remember, you can follow me on at LaShawn Wilts on Instagram. You can follow me over on Substack for my Substack letters from LaShawn. And of course, don't forget to like, share, and leave a good review on the platform of your podcast platform of your choice, because that is how we find other bookish friends to keep this going. Again, I hope you all have a wonderful day. Read a good book, and I will talk to you next week. Bye.